Welcome, pals. Today's we're going to be talking about one of our all-time favorite games, Age of
Empires?
no Mythology. Welcome. This is Pantheon Pal Evil Halfjaw, and with me is Pantheon Pal Mastermind.
How's it going?
Today we're going to be discussing Age of Mythology. This is another oldie but goodie game that we have invested many hours into since its launch in 2002. We have always thought Age of Mythology is a game that has been overlooked compared to the Age of Empires series, even though it is a part of it, being a Microsoft Studios game. We think of Age of Mythology as our favorite real-time strategy game. So if you're a fan of RTS games, this is a game to check out. And now, with its HD re-release on Steam, we have jumped back into it and living out our younger nostalgia. By the end of this video, you'll see the charm and fun that is Age of Mythology.
And for people that haven't played the game before, it is an RTS game that is focused on mythological creatures and gods of past civilizations. It originally focused on the Greeks, Egyptians, and Norse gods, but 2 expansions have added both the Atlantean and the Chinese mythologies to the game as well.
Yeah, one of my favorite gods to pick is the Atlanteans. They're pretty unique because each of the races are very unique in how they either gather resources or their units, and they're very they have historical units. Like Egyptians might have war elephants and pharaohs and stuff like that, and then Greeks will have hoplites and stuff like that, and so it makes the gameplay very unique compared to other RTS games. I know it plays very similar to a StarCraft if you are into that type of games. Whereas you have to gather resources, but in Age of Mythology, all you have to worry about is gold, wood, favor, and food, and that's it. It's very simple gameplay. Mechanics are very easy to learn, and yeah.
That's one of the things I really liked about the game was that when I was younger, this is one of the RTS games that I picked up and really was attracted to because it has those simple mechanics, and yet the mechanics can be complicated whenever you start to get a little bit more competitive with it. But it was one of those things that was just it was really easy to learn at a younger age, I felt like, compared to other RTS games that had a lot more, I guess, the way the way troops and stuff would work in other RTS games seemed a lot more complicated than how Age of Mythology just had it real simple. Just select troops and click to move them.
Yeah, it's very simplistic. It's very flexible no matter what god you pick. You can turtle with building a bunch of walls and towers if you want to. You can just focus on just gathering a bunch of resources, or if you want to just build a wonder, once you get to the highest tier, you can build a wonder and it ends the game in 10 minutes. You just kind of defend it and win that way. Or you could just go and crush everyone with a massive army. And the units in the game are really awesome and really detailed. It really can mix and match the gameplay because they have special abilities and things. And then also each of the races get a Titan, which is this massive unit that can just wreck pretty much anyone. And you just have to gang up on it really quick, and this takes forever. You just have to throw so many troops at it to finally just get it down. And then so you have these really awesome Titan battles where 2 teams will get a Titan and they'll just be fighting in the middle of the battlefield, and they just tower over all of the land units, which is awesome to watch.
Yeah, I really liked the inclusion of the Titans into the game. I think that it was a pretty good choice whenever they had that expansion come out, and I focused all around those Titans. It's just one of those things. It's kind of like getting a nuke or something in a different RTS kind of game. It's just you get it, and if you can get it before your opponent can get theirs up, then it's going to be a real pain in their side trying to get rid of it while they're having to focus on their resources. And that's just one of those things about this game. There's like so much multitasking that goes on once you start getting to the late parts of the game that like it really takes a lot of attention to make sure that like all your villagers are working at the same time and nothing's getting like attacked. Because in this game I feel like you have to really kind of expand out later in the game. Like you have to go find gold mines and you have to go like cut down trees, and like eventually those get so far away from your base that if you're not paying attention, their army can just come through and wipe out your whole group of villagers, and then you're without that kind of resource all of a sudden. And if you don't realize that kind of things, that those kind of things are happening, can really be disastrous for your for the game.
Another thing that really grabbed me about this game more than Age of Empires did, they tried them both around the same time, but this one had the god powers. The god powers can really like mix up the game and make it kind of randomized because each god, like each race, has their own god powers, and then every time you tier up and level, you get a new god power. So some like Zeus might have a lightning bolt that you can just kill a certain like a specific enemy, and so if there's like someone rushing you at the beginning and they have like a minotaur or something, and you know it's going to wreck your base, just lightning bolt it, kills it instantly. So it can really like change the battlefield really quickly if you use those god powers right, and it really just makes it fun and entertaining when something random like that happens.
Yeah, I really like the whole system that they have in place for the whole like tier system, I guess if you want to call it that. So you can go through like the archaic age, classical age, the heroic age, and the mythic age. But to me, I really like that because it gives you like different paths to take. So you get to choose a different minor god every time you advance, and that's how you get those god powers. And for me, that was really interesting because I could play, say, the Egyptian god Isis, and I could choose one minor god, but somebody else might be playing completely differently, playing Isis completely differently than me, can choose the other minor god, and they get a completely different mythical unit, and it just gives the game so much more variety. And when you play against another person, you're not sure which god they're going to be choosing right away. So you're not even going to know what myth unit they actually have, so you can't know exactly how to counter it or what you have to kind of be preparing yourself for, or what you might expect to see coming at you until after you uh, until after you finally see one of them.
Yeah, the cool thing is like this game has large maps, and so I believe you can get up to, is it 12 players
12
at a
players,
time?
yep.
And so you can have like two teams of six, or you can break that up however you want. It's really simple, and then it can all be randomized gods, and so it can really change up the battlefield. And the game has air units, it has land units, and it has sea naval units. And depending on which race you are, you can really just like send out like if you're the Norse, you have Krakens as your sea unit, and those things will just wreck other ships. And so you have a lot of cool naval combat things along with land, and some pretty cool air units as well.
Yeah, I just like the whole combat mechanics. Really, they kind of just were interesting to me. I liked it whenever I was younger because I felt like they had the perfect triangle. You know, like most archers could take down either like horsemen or like the soldiers, and like there was just a really good balance I felt like they had with those. I really liked the naval battles whenever I was younger, even though I was never really good at them. Uh, but the naval battles were for sure really interesting because if you played on a map that had a lot of sea and you could actually learn how to actually control your navy, then you could really dominate that whole map just because of the fact that you could basically cut off supply routes and cut off the enemy from moving from island to island, and that was just really interesting to me. And then, of course, they have like those, like the Egyptians would get like the myth units that were aerial, and they could transfer them over the air. So, like, you just have to really kind of be flexible in how you play, because even though if you had a really strong navy and you were cutting off their supply route on the water, they might have the ability to still fly over you. So that was just an interesting thing, I thought.
Yeah, the game is a very like chill game. I always thought like I played a lot of StarCraft, especially StarCraft 2, and it's very stressful. You got to worry about specific units and how they can counter, and you got to hit your timing just right. Age of Mythology, if you don't have to care about any of that. If you just like a certain unit just because they look cool, you can spam the crap out of those, and you could probably do all right, as long as you just build a lot of them. A note we also wanted to add in this video is if you are planning to buy Age of Mythology on Steam, that you must get the Tales of the Dragon DLC as well, is because it adds the Chinese faction to the game, and we've found that the game kind of doesn't work without it, especially on I think it's like naval maps, because the Chinese will not get their transport ship. But anyways, it'll just make the game crash instantly, or the Chinese won't move. And so if you're looking to buy the game, make sure you get both the expansion and the base game. And we've always found like the best time to buy this game is there's always a couple sales during the year, and the game goes at a really good price. So grab that and then tell your friends, and then you can have a good 12-player battle, and it's awesome.
Πρόσεχε. Θηρευτής.